So it's good to have Jess with us today. Jesse
Mr. Turner.
So good, man.
Yeah,
thanks
thanks for
for
having me.
sharing a little snippet the other week on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So did you get a bit of encouragement after that from people? And
Yeah, I did actually. No,
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys having me do that. It was nice for me to actually try and write it all down,
yeah,
get it out of my head, put it on paper and on my phone and give it a crack. But there was definitely a bit of love there. There was a few people that sort of came up to me and wanted to just have a little chat,
cool.
congratulate me for actually just going up and having a crack at it.
Have you not done that before?
Not on that level, no. I've only just had one-on-ones with people before.
Okay.
And not at that level either. I've never gone that deep
Wow.
on a
Gee,
stage.
that's amazing.
Yeah, I've never. Who wants to talk about some of that stuff? Right?
Yeah.
Normally, you kind of keep that in. Just talk to a few people that you know and trust, which is great. I'd done that already, but also I think it's a good time. Lord was telling me to, you've learned a lot from that situation. You've grown a lot. Maybe now you can help others if they're going on a similar journey or something like that. So why not share a bit of that and see where it goes?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is so good.
So you were brought up in the church, yeah?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say right in amongst church and, how would you say, like parents being in pastoral roles and all that sort of stuff. But
Right.
did go, many Sunday mornings. So mum and dad very devout Christians. So did get brought up in a lovely Christian home and
So
it was important.
So there was a God conscience there. Like
Totally.
God is real?
Yeah,
Never doubted
yeah.
that?
Never doubted it.
Right,
Yeah,
okay.
that was an amazing thing. I think growing up was still finding that for myself as a kid. I had
Sure.
some good foundations with mum and dad and the way that they taught us, but also and guided us within the Word, and went to a beautiful Christian school as well that loved the Lord and loved relationship building and kids. You weren't just a number. They wanted to get to know you.
Cool.
Which is awesome. So not a very big school, obviously, on that note. But having that, God conscience, as you said, I always had hope there.
Right.
Always had that hope, always had that, he's there, he's watching, and I'm going to be all right.
So prayer was sort of like in need, when you had times of need, type, oh, God, help me, or...
Actually, definitely there was, there's always that, right?
Sure.
It's a big part of it. But I'll never forget Mum. She was really good at, even dedicating the day to the Lord. We'd be in the car, kids going whether she's going to a netball game, she loved netball, or whether we were just going to school, she would she'd go, okay, guys, just going to have a quick prayer. I'm going to dedicate this day. Because sometimes she would, obviously now looking back, she was probably stressed or there's a bit going on and she just needed to take a minute. And I looked at that like, man, she's, the way I saw it then was she didn't seem stressed. It seemed like it was actually a good time for us as kids. It was great. We were all good. Everything's fine. So it seemed to me that there was this praying for when things were not going great, but
Right.
praying for things even though things are going good.
Right.
So praying whenever, wherever.
That's cool.
And I was like, oh, that's cool. I took that on board as a youngster, thinking, oh, well, if I'm going good, I should give
Thank
that
the
to God
Lord.
as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So siblings, a few? How many of you?
Yeah, I got two brothers, two younger brothers.
You're the oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Wow, that would have been, no wonder your mum prayed a lot.
Yeah.
My mum prayed a lot with just one son.
She still does.
Yeah.
Wow, so that's, for that to be a memory in your mind is definitely, definitely
Foundational
powerful.
sort of thing.
Yeah, I think I said in my testimony there that I learned very early just to sort of lead by example, knowing
Yeah.
that actions have consequences. And I was like, wow, there's definitely, having younger brothers, I saw that anything that I did impacted them straight away. I was like, I've got to be careful what I say and do here.
Yeah.
And hold myself accountable. But in saying that, hey, we all slip and do silly things.
And you've probably slipped more than most in the sense of your profession.
Put my foot in that one. Didn't I?
Yeah. So can we
Let's
Yeah.
jump into that. Man.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I actually
Let's talk about that.
You're pretty quiet about it, bro.
I
Like
know.
even when we sat down and talked, I'm like, man, talk about some of the stuff you've done. It's actually epic. What's in your mind biggest movie you've been a part of? Or two, three biggest. There's a few.
Well, that's good. I think straight away would have to be the Marvel film Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. That was a huge one for me. We're going through some hard times, which is definitely going to be a story for another time because I'd love to maybe share that if there's a part 2 of a testimony, maybe go down that road. But as for this movie, it was a highlight of my career. And I had Brad Allen, who's a part of unfortunately he's passed away now, which is super sad. But he got me the job on this, and he's part of the Jackie Chan stunt team. So he'd been working with Jackie, working with all those boys for years. First white guy to jump in with a bunch of Chinese guys and go well.
So you're not an actor, you're a stunt man, is that right?
Yeah. So
Let's clarify that because I'm like,
sorry,
where's he in the movie? Not that I've seen it, but
we're the unsung heroes. We're the stunt
Yes.
doubles, the stunt performers. A lot of the time we're designing the action and trying to, as much as we can, get the actor to achieve the action that's created.
right,
And if not, or if there's something a little bit too risky, it's on us
right.
to figure that out. But yeah, so it was an amazing opportunity. Holly and I and the fam were going through a bit of a rough patch. Didn't have any work. And then I actually reached out to Brad because I knew he was doing a film in Sydney. And he's like, actually, you've been on the list. I've been meaning to call you. Thanks for giving me a heads up. Are you free? Are you available? And I was like, well, yeah.
Is this during COVID?
Before.
Just before COVID.
Before, yeah. So I was like, I didn't know what this job was going to entail. But anyway, I get there and I was blown away. I was like, this guy, Brad Allen, really wants me to, he wants me to double a Chinese guy. I don't even look like him. It's just so funny. But I had the same body type, so that's a big deal. And they know in that world and that amount of budget for that film, they just do a face replacement. So they dress you up, do the hair, you look very similar in that aspect, but then when it comes to the face, they can just put some dots on your face and face replace you, which is kind of scary when you think about it. But in this job, it was cool. I was like, sweet, I've got a job here, and I can use my skills. And that was the beauty of this one, is I actually got to use my passion on this job. A lot of other stunt jobs, it's been like bits of parkour or bits of just other elements that normally like fights and stuff like that, which is fun. But my passion is parkour. I love that stuff, like chase scenes and
Running, jumping.
Yeah, so you don't always get that. Yeah. But this entailed all of that.
Wow.
Just brought it all together, and I was like, awesome. And then Brad was like, hey man, I really want you to just take creative direction in some of this stuff. Like, you do you. Like, I'm not gonna, the way what he meant was, and a lot of film and TV there, you do as they say, basically. They'll sort of listen to you a little bit and go, oh yeah, but I want this.
Yeah.
Which, happened a little bit, but on this, they're like, this is the rough storyline you need to get from A to B. What are you going to do? Do your thing. Come up with it.
Wow.
Like, sweet. So we're just sitting in there for a lot of this stuff you don't even realize, but it can take months to come up with sequences because you're trying to tell a story through action, which was his biggest thing. So being able to story tell through action is very important. Like, you don't just chuck a side flip. What's the reason for that?
Yeah.
Dodging a bullet or, So, good film.
So have you always wanted to be a stuntman, or you just fell into it?
No, I was growing up. It's like anyone. I remember being 5 years old, and I was like, man, I want to be a pilot. So, well, that didn't happen. And then you go through life. I did soccer for 10 years. I loved it. Adelaide was pretty big on that. Obviously, they've got AFL, soccer, tennis, cricket, like most states, but it was a bit heavier down there for this stuff.
Missing league, bro. Missing league.
League wasn't big down there.
Nah.
It wasn't big, nah. So the culture of that wasn't non-existent, basically.
Yeah.
We had guys from Sydney come over and try to teach us stuff, but which
Soccer
I enjoyed
was
every
it.
sport.
Right.
But AFL was the biggest thing down there. Like, here we go, Adelaide and Melbourne,
Yeah,
AFL.
fair.
You see footy grounds everywhere. But for me, it was definitely the original football.
Yeah.
Soccer.
Yeah.
I just loved it. Loved running around. Loved the skills with the feet and what you could do without your hands. And then it's like playing chess at the same time.
Nice.
Once you start to learn how to play properly. And then from there, so I did that for 10 years. Got into club. And then it was kind of at that road where you're like, okay, well, I'm either going to push to play, state, and it's a lot of money to get there and, a lot of training.
Harder, you got to know people.
Oh, it's brutal. Lot of competition, which is great. I was keen on that. I went to this section. I went to this, it's kind of like a camp where there was like a guy from West Ham that came in.
Oh, really?
There was like, a bit of a scout system. Go through drills, training. They're looking for someone to go take over the UK.
Wow.
And I thought I did like pretty good. I was pretty happy with my performance. I was confident. But again, that's one of those things where they've already kind of got someone in mind.
Right.
And I was like, I see this is going to be a hard road. But I was already in my mind enjoying. There was a few sort of YouTube just kind of was coming in. Wasn't even really a thing. It was just videos online.
Yeah.
A few websites, people would post up a video, and I saw a guy do a wall flip. I was heavily inspired by Ninja Turtles, Spider-Man, and Jackie Chan, and all that sort of stuff. And sort of parkour kind of was etching into my life then. I was about probably 14, 15. But through this time, I'd always loved climbing, sliding down dirt slides, playing on playgrounds, all that, and athletics. I loved that. So this was kind of fusing everything together.
Right.
And
Not gym? You didn't do gymnastics ever? Not really?
I think I did that for like a month.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Once a week. Mum got me to do it. I hated it. It was super strict, and I was like 5 years old.
Yeah.
So like I was jumping on mini tramps, and they're like, "Hey, you got to get back over here and do the drills." And I was like, "Nah, rather just run around in the field and kick a ball,"
Yeah.
So yeah, going fast forward to being 15, I was that guy trying to do backflips in training instead of kicking the ball at the back of the net. And I was kind of in this like transition of like, I'm loving soccer, but I'm loving this more. So I ended up moving into that. And then I just had fun. It was a passion of mine, parkour. No one knew what it was. So I was telling people about it. People were like, "What are you doing, man? What's in your backpack?" "What's in your backpack?" "I'm just jumping off walls. I'm not trying to spray walls." And
was it just solely inspired by what you were seeing online?
I would say it's a mixture of all the stuff. Like, movies and TV really impact people's life. And so that's why Dad was pretty careful on what we watched.
Yeah.
He wasn't big on Power Rangers because it was very like karate, punching and stuff. And we emulated that a lot.
Three brothers.
Yeah. Brother and I were like, Dad's like, "Nah, not having that right now. That's going to turn messy." So, definitely took that on board, I guess, growing up, and then it was all coming together at that age, 15, and then I just I got inspired by a guy called David Bell in where was he? He's in France. So the movement came from France, and a lot, like I say that, but this movement's obviously been inspired by so many different people over time, and so it actually became a discipline. Probably a bit before when I started. I'm trying to think. I don't want to get it wrong, but it's probably around 2000s, early 2000, 2003, 2004. That's what I got. And from there, went on and got into it. Very new in Australia, not many people doing it, but the community grew. And then I was able to train in where I was in Adelaide, and then it kind of led me into this idea of what am I going to do with this skill? Am I just doing this for fun? And that's why I mentioned in my testimony that there was this lady that saw me jumping around at lunchtime in TAFE. Just went down and pop. And Mum and Dad were like, what are you going to do? Probably good to get at least a backup job or, trade or something. So I started going down that path. And then she'd given me this idea of being a stuntman. And I was like, that sounds pretty cool.
When you say you were like sort of training, what were you doing? Because it wouldn't have been like parkour school or like... Hey, sign up at school for the parkour lessons. Like, was it just you were doing it on your own and with other dudes that you found that?
Yeah, I mean, I had some best mates. My best mates still to this day. We still we trained a bit in our own time. As for being at TAFE, I guess what happened with this, it's like if any of you guys skateboarded or anything like that, you get a bit of an eye for it. You go, I could grind that rail, or I could do this with parkour, same sort of thing. You start to get this eye for like, oh, that's a pretty good gap, or I could scale down this and come up with a run and then backflip off that, and you're sort of coming up with these random ideas that most people be like, what are you doing?
I could jump that.
That's
flip
pretty
that.
cool.
Yeah, so like she's seen that. I just did it in my own time. So when we finished doing some study, recess and lunch, instead of people, most of the guys there were just smoking up a storm, eating some
Right.
dodgy food.
Smoking up a storm.
I'm just over there, they're just watching me going, oh, look at this guy, he's a crackpot. And so I was just doing it because I loved it. Loved exploring. I think that was a big part of it. So from there, yeah, she's seen that. I didn't even realize she'd seen it. And she pulled me aside and like, thank God for her, right? Like, that's awesome. Like
Yeah.
it's like an angel in your life that just comes in and just goes, hey, I've seen you doing this. Have you thought about pursuing it like in gymnastics, or have you thought about diving? I was like, oh, she's like, oh, how about you put it all together and do a stunt course? And I was like,
What a
is there
cool
such a
lady.
thing? I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
is there
it's
such
pretty
a
That's pretty cool. To me, that's the best type of teacher.
Oh, she saw the
So
need.
you can see something in someone and just give them a little
Little
direction.
nudge.
I'm like, that's the best.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I agree. I really, I hope and pray there's more of those people around
Yeah.
for other kids because they need it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teachers out there that just sort of go through the motions but don't actually, get to know their children they're teaching.
So God's still just in the background?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, through that whole time, obviously you're going through your teenage years and there's a lot of,
Yeah.
I was
Stuff.
going to say ups and downs, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The thought process through all of that was, even though I was doing some risky stuff, I'd always pray, always had the Lord in the back of my mind. I knew he had my back kind of thing. Like, I was like,
Good.
I've got this, and he's got me. And but as time went on, I was so focused on pursuing then a career and my passions and getting better at my skill. And God was still in the picture, but I think there was still that I had a lot of things to face. There was a lot of trials that were going to come my way, and I was prepared to a certain degree. And there was there was some big choices that I was going to have to make. So that was like that. I guess those defining moments started to come in a bit later. I was pursuing something. I was so focused, which was awesome. Disciplined, trying to get somewhere. And the life experience was coming in through that time. And I was trying to, how would you explain it? You guys would probably understand where things just start to chip at you. And you're like, oh, like I'm trying to focus on this, and then something's coming in, which was, I guess, where we got to in a bit of crunch of the story and the testimony where it was pornography that really started to be a problem.
When were you on that show that I saw? What was that one called? Not American Ninja, but
Ninja Warrior.
Oh, Ninja Warrior.
yeah.
The one?
What year?
Oh, no, you're talking about
The
so I did Ninja Warrior first in 2016. It was the first season. A lot of us guys we got an email, we got hit up about it. Like, hey, we're looking for people to jump on this show. And we're like, oh, we've heard about it in America. Hey, this would be sick. Let's do it. So we went through that whole process. Knowing TV, it's quite hilarious. Like, I don't know if you know, but when you go on a show like that, I kind of knew what to expect. A lot of it's staged.
Yeah.
But the fun thing about the Ninja Warrior one was they have some obstacle course testers do it in front of you when you get it. So we flew into Sydney. It was on Cockatoo Island. Pretty cool, right? Go on a boat to under the bridge and get to Cockatoo Island, and you're all there. There's individual athletes going against I'd say you're kind of really going against yourself. Really, you're competing, but you really got to focus on you getting through this thing. But they have an individual tester on each obstacle showing you how to do it, and some of them couldn't do it.
Wow.
They show you once, and then you go back inside, and then you've just got to figure it out when they go, you're up.
Wow.
And how staged was it?
Well, I remember there just being times where I probably saw it more on the Ultimate Beastmaster. That's the one you're
Oh
talking
yeah.
about.
Yeah.
But they just make it easier for certain people they want to get through.
Yeah.
How do they do that?
They can
Change the speed of the rotation?
Yep, they can do that. They can shorten distances. They can lower nets. They do all kinds of things.
Do they hide it from you guys or nah? So they didn't try and hide
Well,
it.
for the general people, they wouldn't really probably notice it too much.
Nah, but I mean from you
foot.
guys.
For
A
us,
foot
yeah,
is a
they
big
don't
deal.
tell us. Maybe they tell somebody. They didn't tell me, but I can see what some of the stuff that's going on, and I think it was more evident, especially in Ultimate Beastmaster. I saw one of my mates flunked out in like the first. Or was it the second obstacle? Bam, he was gone, done. No more second chances. And we had this Brazilian chick come in, and she had 5 turns. They're like, "Oh, we need another chick to get through. Jump on again." Stuff like that.
5 turns.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, okay. That was just one of the situations, you know. There's
Man.
definitely lots of other ones where they shrink the gaps. And,
Yeah.
You know,
It definitely looks.
yeah,
Reality
it's staged.
TV ain't reality.
It's TV, right? And they, at the end of the day, a lot of that stuff isn't just the. It's not necessarily about the competition for them because it's not always. That's not going to give them the views. It's the stories behind it. They want to build certain personalities that have, you know, tear-jerking stories.
Yeah.
That
Like
Australian Idol and
physical 100.
yeah. So I mean, it's funny. I've got a mixture of guys that I talk to about that stuff, and some people love it. They got a decent story and it works for them. But the audience is, from what I'm seeing, getting to a bit of a point where it's like there's a lot of audience people watching that just want to watch the competition.
Yeah.
But then you've still got a lot of people wanting to see the story. So I mean, I like both.
How did you go in both those competitions?
I flunked out in Ninja Warrior on the 5th obstacle. That was the net. So that was definitely low. And I just rushed it. And I didn't actually fall in. I just tapped the water and you can't touch the water at all. So I was like, bow, bow. I was like, oh, come on. But what do you do, right? I was like, is what it is. It was a good experience.
And what about Beastmaster?
Beastmaster.
What was that one? I don't even know what that is.
That's the sliced alone one where you go into the mouth of the beast and you have to
Yeah.
do heaps of obstacles and that. It was random.
It was
I saw
pretty
it.
random, eh? It's
I'm like, what the heck? Because when was that one? 2000.
So that was like the next year, 2017.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we filmed it and then it came out a few years later, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was like, I think Sylvester Stallone was the producer.
Yeah.
We didn't see him actually on that. So you get a lot of guys that they put their name on it, they just put some funds into it or something, or had a bit of a say, and then they're off on doing something else.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty good platform. It was more mechanical. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't kind of like, I don't know, maybe Crash Bandicoot style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You have to press stuff to get more points. It's points oriented.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So as you jump, you touch something and land on a ledge. As you're going on this rock climbing wall,
The magnets fall off.
fall off, and you can touch a point thruster to get some points. But if you're too slow, you fall in the
It's pretty cool.
blood.
Yeah.
So you're going through all these things, which is pretty amazing,
Yeah,
and you must be around some awesome people.
Very inspiring people.
And you're like single through most of this time. When did you meet Holly?
Oh, actually, yeah. I mean, I met Holly. That was 2013. 2013. I
Wow,
met Holly.
2013?
Yeah, so we were together through this time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So what year did you get married?
2017. So that year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
That was filmed in the States. Oh, I forgot to answer your question. I got to the semi-finals, and I just got beaten by a Pommy guy, Corbin Mackin, I think his name is. Awesome dude. I was like, you know what? You deserve it. Because you're a good dude.
Shucks.
But it's just a good experience to get over there and do that. But yeah, Holly was there through this whole time. And a lot of the time people don't actually tell you what goes on behind the scenes to get there. The amount of paperwork
Oh, I'm sure.
that you've got to go through just to sign off non-disclosures. You've got to go through... if they're going to show photos and videos of your past to build up a story... They're like, who took the photo? We need a signature from them. I'm like, I can't even remember who took that photo. Yeah. So it gets a bit like,
Full on, eh?
So did you have one particular, when you were growing up, just mucking around with parkour, did you have one sort of video that just went viral type thing that sort of blew up and created a bit of a profile? Or
I think from my experience, I started on YouTube. So it was way before Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff came along. It was all about making just that one big showreel video at the end of the year.
Right.
So you train all these moves, you film them all, and then it was a good platform to go, oh, sweet, I can put up a showreel at the end of the year and show the community. So it was more of a presence in the community. And then it started to grow from there. Probably wasn't until I made the move to Queensland in '09 that I started to. I worked in a bit of construction, then I got into movie world, and then that was a really good platform to get to know some of the stunt guys. And I think from there, like it was the parkour world and the stunt community, probably more the parkour community because it's very online based, just exploded. I didn't realize the gravity of that situation of how many people, kids doing parkour at the time because it was a fairly new movement, were watching all these videos and getting inspired. So you're actually inspiring people all over the world, which is a very new thing, right? Most of the time it was just, TV or old DVDs we used to buy, say for skateboarding, you buy a DVD, put it in, and I love, DVS shoes. These guys do some awesome stuff.
Yeah, so true.
But it changed to the online world. So I'd still get CDs. I love that DVDs and stuff. But it all went online. So as soon as you put your video up in a community like that, it just went bang. And to this, even to when I was working on Shang-Chi, I was working with some Mongolians, and they knew me from that video, one of the old videos that I put up, and I was like, wow. I didn't realize.
What sort of views were you getting back then? Like, what's one of those videos at?
Probably not too much. I remember it getting up to let's just say 10 to 15,000, and back then that was a lot.
That was a lot.
I was like,
but it wasn't monetized either back then.
No,
really.
and I didn't understand the whole. I didn't understand any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Revenue raising. Getting AdSense accounts, which I didn't even think existed then, but monetizing your videos, so they put the adverts on, then you start to get an income from that. I didn't know anything about that. I was like,
wow,
just chuck the video up and see what happens.
Yeah. So you've got this dull god in the background that pray to.
Yes.
You've got this ever increasing addiction, maybe, or
oh, you mean down the track?
Yeah.
It's kind of creeping in.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're not a smoker. You're an athlete, right? So you're not smoking. You're not.
Yeah. None of that stuff.
None of that stuff. But you've got this silent.
Yeah, this enemy
decay?
just creeping in. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you sort of manage that?
Oh, good question. Man, a lot of this stuff started to. Man, all the stuff that we've been doing recently with Valiant, man, it's really started to make me realize a lot of things, that how far it went back to.
Yeah. Right.
So I don't know how deep we can go here with this stuff.
Deep. Yeah. We go deep. It's a silent killer, and
it was a silent killer, man. Yeah, I think
community.
really, it was, man, I think like 15 onwards.
right.
More so, I wasn't watching that stuff at that point. It was I had people, friends down the road, or people had shown me some things, and I was like, "What the? My body's changing, so what's this thing do?" And then from there, it started to become an addiction. Then,
Right.
I don't know how far we can go, but like masturbation, things like that. It was terrible, man. Like I didn't realize at the time, but that actually was starting to rewire my brain in a certain way of thinking. And then when it slowly came to seeing stuff like pornography down the track, it was like, oh yeah, okay, this is kind of cool. It's I wouldn't say cool. I was still fighting morals in my head. Like, this isn't the right thing to do, but this is not nice. What do I do here? Do I keep going down this road? And it became an addiction. I didn't really think about it at the time.
It's the pleasure and pain, eh?
Yeah. Totally. We just went through that last week. Hey, pleasure and pain. This constant cycle.
Yeah.
Of the relapse and back to pain.
How's how it enters in though before you even are experiencing what we're meant to do? What we're meant to experience connection with someone in a sexual intimacy, and yet it gets in before any of that, so that your first experience of it is with yourself watching other people. Like, it's just messed. It's messed up.
It's a mess, yeah. And I wasn't even really watching anyone. My brain, you can remember a picture or whatever it is, and it didn't take much.
It was magazines more so back then as well. Anyway, it wasn't even so much
I might have
videos.
just seen, say, I don't know, remember Titanic, and she's
Leonardo
DiCaprio was drawing that woman.
Right.
And you can remember that. Can't forget that. And that could be enough to go down that road.
Wow.
And then later on down the track, it became the videos,
Yeah.
which was actually more when I went to Canada with Suicide Squad. When I was talking about that with first big full-time job, I was away from Holly. We weren't married at the time, and like it got worse. I was away.
Wow.
Some of my mates were doing some silly things, and then that crept in even more. So yeah, like you said, this idea of this had come in really early, before even understanding full relationship with a woman, and understanding to a certain degree of how God made it. I knew what was the right thing to do, but I'd been like tempted hard through the teenage years and just fell slowly into this pattern, and then got to this point of watching these videos,
Consuming,
and then it having effects on Holly and I's relationship, and then then seeking counsel in those moments, especially before marriage. So we did it a bit back to front. I know that, and I knew that at the time as well, and that's why I said in my testimony that Holly's like, "Who are you? You're being a hypocrite. Like, what side of the fence are you on? You're saying you want this life, but you're living this way. So, what is it?" And if she was she's the type of person to go, if you're all in on something and you believe it fully, and we see the fruits every day, right, with the Lord and how He works in our lives. And she could see that, but she was, I guess, kind of like, take the reins, like get a hold of your life. And with that kind of said, I knew that meant I needed to lean on God, draw near to Him, and then things are going to start to change.
So at what point did God be from out there to really
Coming right
in here? I mean, pornography is such a trap, and such a guilt and shame condemning issue.
Yeah.
That it really keeps men away from true connection with God, because we don't feel good enough.
Yeah.
But also connection with our spouse and family, and even other guys, because who wants to admit, we think we're the only one with this major issue.
Yeah.
So what sort of moved God from being out there to really Lord? Was there a moment, or?
I think it was, I remember being quite gradual, but it's funny you say that, because like the whole act in itself, hey, is so isolating, isn't it? Like you're totally, you're actually not having that full connection with the Lord.
Yeah.
Because you're always kind of hiding away doing something, right? You always got that in the back of your head, enemies there. And then also not knowing the weight of the situation fully, like to a certain degree, but then with what we've been going through recently, it's like, wow, this is a lot deeper than you think.
Yeah.
Understanding your sexuality and all that stuff, and all that sort of stuff. But with realization was probably even the moment where Holly was starting to have that conversation with me. I think that started to really, the process started.
Right.
It's like, if I want to be a loving husband later down the track, when we get married, or even just now, just being a good boyfriend, I should be starting to really think about this, because this is having an effect on our relationship.
Yeah, wow.
But then down the track, it got worse, and then before it got better for me. So it was probably when, it's hit me. We were actually going to transformations. So we finally had found a church to go to. I had a good mate, John Catterall, who did marry us down the road, but he was doing ministry there, and I thought, through this time, it was very hard to show Holly a Christian way of living, especially through myself, through my family. Family's gone through a rough patch. There was a lot of things against us. I was like, no, there's a loving God there. There is. Like, He's there. Just a few little obstacles we're going to jump over. So we went there, and I actually met some amazing guys. I remember a guy. I won't name names here, but he gave me some really good advice. He was at his wedding, just about to marry his soon-to-be wife, in that, the bride that day, obviously. And then he said to me he felt hollow because he hadn't actually been honest about some situations, similar situations to his bride that day. You know what I mean? He felt like he should have done it way before and given her the opportunity to think about it. And that hit me. I was like, wow, we are leading into marriage now, Holly and I. We're not far off. And his words were honest. Like, haven't been honest. I was like, and transparent were his words. You know, I kind of remember just hearing him say that, going, man, well, first of all, I don't want to be sitting at the end of that aisle feeling hollow, like, man, I've got so much to say to the woman of my dreams. Why haven't I said it yet? We're just about to say all these vows. This is what he was thinking. I'm just about to say all these vows. Yet, really, I'm not meaning them fully because I haven't dealt with this stuff yet.
And keeping so much from her. She doesn't know everything.
So you're saying all this and then, hang on, do you mean it? Because you haven't actually dealt with this yet. And I was like, oh. It was like that moment of like a realization, and then the Lord beginning to go, right, oh yeah, Jess, this is what I've been trying to say to you, man.
What period before your wedding was this?
And Holly's probably got a more accurate.
I'm the same. Yeah, 3 days and 7 hours.
Oh man, it was close. I'd like to say within weeks.
Yeah, wow.
Okay. We're talking. I've got 6 weeks in my head. 6 or 7 weeks.
That's cool.
And my heart's beating now just thinking about this because my heart was beating then like, whoa.
Because you're like,
I've
got to talk to her.
Oh man, I got some things to talk about.
I got some junk in the trunk.
Yeah. And I was always that guy, like, you know, generally speaking, with my character, you know, loyal, trustworthy, reliant, had issues, but, you know, we would deal with them. Yeah, it might have been a bit like, you know, get a little bit offended, but then try and deal with it. You know, not perfect, but normally an easygoing guy. But with this issue, obviously, there was some baggage I could talk about. So anyway, comes to the day. Holly knew something was coming.
Right.
I said to her, hey, look, I've got something to talk to you about.
Wow. And, here we go.
She knew. I've never said something like that before. I was trying to be as like kind of discreet or just kind of come in there. But there's no doing that with us. You know, we're like, okay, what's going on? There's something going on. She knows. Women know.
Yeah, they do.
There was no hiding it. Anyway, I sat down and I was just honest, open, transparent. I just
put it all on the table.
Just was honest with her and said what had happened. Like I mentioned, I won't go into detail here, but there was a few things that I did with leading from pornography, masturbation, all that sort of stuff, had led to some poor decisions after that as well during that time. And that's
while you're overseas, you're with the group of people. Yeah.
There's a few things that happened. Yeah. One thing that happened actually in particular, and then I just had to own up about it. And it was a hard one for her to go, wow, like, you know, it was one of those realizations where it's like, yeah, I mean, who is this man I'm going to marry? Thank you for being honest, but I need to process and think about this.
Yeah, of course.
And I think the other flip side to that was, here's me opening up about it. And I love Holly, but her way of dealing with it at the time was she felt like it was, and I think it was just her processing it. It was like, she's like, man, you're being so selfish. Why would you tell me this now? And I don't know how to put that into context, but to the point of, oh yeah, you've just unloaded onto me, but now, you know, it makes you feel all better, which I didn't think like that. I was just like, I just wanted to be honest. It wasn't about just letting you know and, I feel better now. I got that off my chest. Let's move on. I knew this was going to be a process of forgiveness. And I really learned what forgiveness meant.
Yeah.
Not only her forgiving me and taking time and then getting married, but I had to forgive myself as well.
Yeah.
And I didn't deal with that very well. I guess still having small problems with the issue. I was trying to figure out how to battle it. Not having probably the best people in my life to help me get through that. Not really fully giving it to God, even though I wanted to. It was still an issue. And then, where was I going with that?
She was she's like, man, it's all good for you to offload it
Yeah.
onto me, but now I've got to deal with it, which
Yeah.
probably that's probably her just natural first reaction.
It was her first reaction,
Yeah,
which was honestly, I get it now. As going down the track, I get that. But because it was so close to the wedding as well, like, why tell me now? What the heck?
Yeah.
And then I had to just let her in on that and why that was. And I said, I really wanted, you to know that there is an issue here that you need to know about before you marry me, and you need to make the call on whether you still want to marry me or not. And who wants to say that?
Yeah, it's pretty full on.
Like I was like, I need to be
Yes.
to the point here of this honesty needs to come out. This needs to be said so that she can make that decision. And praise the Lord, it still went ahead. Still a lot to deal with at that time, but we got through and she forgave me. And I guess going back to the forgiveness issue, I actually lost work in the stunt world. There wasn't much going on for me.
Wow.
And I met a guy from Ninja Warrior called Mike Nass, who's an awesome dude, and actually got me a job in the mines. I didn't want to go to the mines, really.
There's no parkour out there.
The oil and gas field. And I was like, oh, man. But Holly was struggling at the time. She actually had a job to try and pay for. We had a mortgage. We had another mortgage coming because we wanted to get into the property market. There was all that going on, and I wasn't bringing home nothing.
Wow.
So then that was another thing to deal with. Going through the issue and then going like, oh man, I'm not even providing now. We just got married. And that was a big issue for me. I wanted to do that, but it was just, I had to humble myself, suck in my pride and do something that I didn't necessarily want to do. And I had to, there was a sacrifice I had to make for the better of our relationship and family in my mind at that time. But in my head as well, I was like, this is like a prison sentence for all the actions I've done. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's how I dealt with it. I was like, all right, struggling with forgiving myself of the things that I've done here. I've been honest about it, but I'm battling this in my head. So it made me work hard.
Right.
like they love me at work. But that's a whole other story too. With trying to live a Christian life and really start to emulate that Christ-like way in a community like that was pretty rough.
So that like, input from your friend at the church at the time, you're like spilling your beans, your real honesty. Did that really bring about like a freedom and a desire to change?
Yeah, totally. Going back to your question, that was where I really felt the Lord work in my life. Like I said, I knew he was always there. Like I believed in him. I have believed in him, and I still will to the end of these days. But that I'm on this earth. But that moment was pivotal. Big time. Yeah.
And you really sensed a closeness to God, like he didn't.
Yeah, he never left me. He was always there, which is the beauty of it, right?
So being honest with Holly was almost like a confession to God as well.
Yeah.
Does that sort of...
Yeah, like actually giving it to God as well, going, hey, this is how far I've gotten in my own strength. It's not getting me very far.
It's amazing, how that God comes closer.
Yeah.
When we think, oh man, all this rot, he's gonna push me away.
Yeah.
But he comes in, like
it lines up with that prodigal son type. That story, that parable. Yeah, the loving arms are there and the grace is there to bring you in and go, hey, it's all good.
Like, to start the journey.
You've repented.
Yeah.
I forgive you. My wife's forgiven me. Let's start this journey of forgiveness, walking in forgiveness and what that means. And
how long have you been married now?
Since 2017, So what's that? 6 years?
Oh, come on. That's awesome.
Praise the Lord. No, it's been really good.
And it's getting better?
Oh, so much better.
Okay.
I think as well, like I've really seeked out, the Lord's definitely put in my heart to seek good counsel.
Yeah.
Always. Yeah. Mentors in your life, which honestly, through my life, there's been great people, great mentors. I feel like one of my skills has normally been to have good judge of character with people, use my discernment on who's in my life to, help push you forward. But that's been great. But then when I've hit these situations in life, I haven't had maybe the best people to deal with that situation. Right. So it's like, okay, well, what do we do from here, Lord? And sure enough, there's been some great people that have come into my life and helped me.
awesome.
Right. It's testimony of you, man.
Yeah.
And even like you said, I can see that because the people that you mentioned that you've had mentor you in your profession, you can hear are amazing people. It's good that you sort of pull people in. You and Holly, I think, both are great at even just the stories of which you haven't shared today, of you guys finding community and seeking out good people around you. It's a testimony of you guys, man. You can see that. You're hungry for the growth in your walk with God.
Yeah, totally. And in saying that too, like it's not like, and this is an interesting subject actually, you know, when people say, well, actually we spoke about it. I think you mentioned it in church, Marshall. Was it you or Dan? Regardless, it was.
If it was good, it would be
around.
me.
You know, bad company corrupts good morals.
Yeah.
So I knew that very early on, but it slips in. But in saying that, you know, there's still people in your life that you love. You're not trying to push them away, but if you're trying to get somewhere, you need, there's boundaries that need to be set, right?
Yeah, good.
And so that's been a process over time. You know, you're still loving on these people, but sometimes people just suck you dry.
Yeah.
And that's been a big thing growing up, even in our relationship, of knowing. I'm sure you guys would understand this too. Knowing when I guess for us as a couple, we're helping people, and knowing when to go, all right, so it's up to you now to do you. And and obviously we're here for you, but we don't necessarily have all the time, especially with my line of work.
Yeah.
You know, like being away puts pressure on the family. So that means we don't have the time to
Yeah. No, that's
stuff.
true.
But yeah, that's a whole other subject, isn't it?
Yeah. No, we appreciate you coming and sharing
Yeah, it's awesome.
so openly, and on a subject that's needs to be spoken about more, because it's every man's battle,
Yes.
and not just men, it's a woman's battle as well. It's society's battle. It's the a huge issue of decay in our. It's one of the underlying.
And it's
cultural
such an
norms.
undercurrent.
Yeah,
It
but
is.
but it's good now. It seems like it's getting exposed.
Yeah, it is.
And people are like, oh no, this isn't actually normal, and this isn't good for me.
Yeah.
It's killing me.
Yeah.
So
I will add, actually, one of the best things about it, taking a positive from a big negative in my life, was the fact that when I did go to the mines, and I'd love to touch on this maybe sometime at another Testify or something, but just the fact that going through this situation in my life, it gave me some, I guess, ammo to be able to feed back to people that would kind of make fun of the situation, not mine, but pornography in general in the mines.
yeah,
I had a guy go, like, Jesse found out I was a Christian, and they could see just through my actions I didn't swear, and I was just trying to be a good dude, help out, do my job. But obviously when you're out there, same 5 guys for 2 or 3 weeks, they get to know you pretty well.
yeah,
So they'd always kind of poke in on, man, do you even watch pornography? Like, man, like, what do you do out here? You're all by yourself, and, you know, like, kind of, you know,
yeah. Chip away.
chip away at you. And I said, hey, man, look, yeah, I've done that. Been there, done that. And it nearly destroyed my life.
Wow.
And he just went, oh. Yeah, I guess it does, eh? It was like, hit the nail on the head. I was like, and these guys this is the beauty of being in the mines, was there, stab you in the front, straight up,
Yeah.
say it how it is, which I loved.
Yeah.
Completely opposite in film. Stab you in the back.
Yeah.
Won't say it to your face. Next thing you know, you're not working on the next job because you
Wow.
might have said something out of line, hurt
Wow.
someone's feelings. And you're like, oh, man. But anyway, that's
good.
I just found that there's little pearls of wisdom, even if it depends on how it comes out, depends on what field you're in. Like, that worked for me.
Awesome.
And ended up being able to build relationships with these men. And they actually came to me on certain subjects. And I was like, praise the Lord for this, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's so good.
It's good. Well, we're thankful for you, and
Appreciate you, mate.
look forward to hearing Holly's story at some point as well.
I think
So-
she doesn't even know she's going to be ours.
Oh, no, she's on.
It's good.
But yeah, I think she'd be keen. I think she's already, after doing mine.
Yeah,
And I appreciate
yeah.
you guys actually reaching out and going, hey, do you want to share? And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I think it's time. It's actually made her go, maybe, you know, if they ask me, I might go and touch on, and I was like, oh, this is good.
Good.
This is
Cool.
really good.
Good. She's up soon.
She's got some really good stories to tell. I'll be interested to see where she goes with it,
Yeah,
you know.
cool.
We look forward to it, eh?
Well, thanks, Jess.
Thanks, brother.
Jesse, it's awesome, mate.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure.
Thank you.